You made a fool out of me. Now I get to take my turn. I am sitting on our king-sized bed, watching my wife, Megan, lean into the mirror. She is putting on red lipstick slow and careful. She is getting dressed for another one of those so-called networking nights at her tech company. The kind of event where ambitious people swear they are talking about quarterly goals while they drink champagne and eat tiny plates of food I can never pronounce. The kind where she somehow always forgets to wear underwear. Do not wait up for me, Jake, she says, eyes still on the mirror. This one might run late. Very late. I look around our bedroom. Perfect furniture. Perfect bedding. Perfect fake hotel smell from the diffuser she bought. The whole house is like that. Marble counters. Hardwood floors. A 3-car garage. A neighborhood where everybody smiles too wide. From the street, it looks like we won life. Inside, it feels like a movie set somebody will tear down after filming. New dress. I ask, even though I already know it is new. It is black, tight, and costs more than most people take home in a week. It hugs her like it was made only for her. Richard bought it for me, she says, all casual, like that is a normal thing for a boss to do. He said I had to look the part for tonight's presentation. Richard Collins, her chief executive officer. Around 50, silver hair, drives a Bentley, has that rich man smile that makes you want to count your fingers after you shake his hand. I have met him 3 times at company events, and every time he looked at me like I was gum on his shoe. What kind of presentation happens at 9 o'clock in the evening on a Friday? I ask. That finally makes her turn. Her eyes tell me I am walking toward the wrong door. The kind that gets people promoted, Jake. The kind that pays for this house. The kind that covers your cute little investing project. My cute little investing project, right. The portfolio that is worth more than her yearly salary. But since I work from home in sweatpants instead of marching around a glass tower in $1,000 suits, she treats it like I am playing with Monopoly money. A car horn sounds outside. Not just any car. I can tell by the way the engine purrs instead of rattles. Something expensive. Something imported. Something only men like Richard buy because they are tired of proving things. That is my ride, she says, grabbing her purse. No kiss. No, I love you. Just heels on hardwood, and the front door closing like a judge's gavel. I walk to the window. From the second floor, I can see her open the passenger door of Richard's Bentley and slide in like she has done it 100 times. Even from up here, I can see her lean toward him. Maybe it is his cheek. Maybe it is not. The car pulls away and the taillights disappear down our perfect street, and I am left standing in my own house feeling like a guest. If this were one of those Stephen King stories, this would be the part where the family dog turns and rips out my throat. Instead, I am just getting cheated on by my wife and her charming chief executive officer. I pour myself 3 fingers of bourbon and head into my home office. On the way, I see Megan's laptop still open on the kitchen counter. She was answering messages while her hair dried. She has always been lazy about passwords. She uses our dog's name for everything. Buddy123. That is not exactly federal-level security. I should not look. I know I should not look. But bourbon makes me brave, and being brave makes me stupid. I open her email. It is a gold mine of office drama. People fighting for promotions. People sending flirty jokes they should not send. People pretending to be friends while they plan to cut each other off at the knees. But it is the messages on her phone that make my stomach turn. Conversations between her and Richard. Between her and 3 other women in management. Between her and 2 male vice presidents. None of them are talking about sales targets. Richard wrote yesterday, I cannot wait for tonight's special presentation. Make sure Ashley and Brooke know how to dress. Or how not to dress. Megan answered, already handled. Jake is working late anyway. He never notices what I do. That line hits harder than the bourbon. There is more. Too much more. Pictures I do not want in my head. Plans for private meetups. A whole side network inside the company where sex and loyalty and promotions are all mixed together like some gross kind of currency. But what really freezes me is the thread about me. Megan, is Jake starting to ask questions? A woman named Nicole wrote. Might be getting suspicious, Megan sent back. So handle it, Nicole answered. Or we will handle it for you. He is not going anywhere. His whole investment portfolio is tied up in our stock options. If he leaves you, he loses everything. I lean back in my chair and stare at the screen. She is right. When we got married 15 years ago, I wanted to show her I believed in her. So I put almost everything into one joint investment account. I loaded it up with her company's stock. I thought it was romantic. I thought we were betting on her together. Now it looks less like romance and more like I walked into a trap with my eyes open. But here is the good thing about people thinking you are harmless. It gives you space to move. I start taking screenshots. Every message, every photo, every dumb, dirty secret they passed around like candy. Then I open up the company financials. I already know where most of it lies because I pay attention, even if Megan thinks I do not. I start matching names from the messages to what I am seeing in the numbers. And for the first time in months, I smile. Richard and his little inner circle are not just sharing bets. They are messing with the value of the stock. They are trading on information before it is public. They are using their private Boys and Girls Club to trade favors for promotions and deals. The Securities and Exchange Commission would have an absolute field day with this. My phone buzzes. EXT from Megan lights up my phone. Do not wait up. Presentation is running very late. I may stay at Nicole's. Nicole, the same woman who told her she could handle me. I text back. No problem. I am working on a new investment plan. Big moves coming. Nothing. No dots. No reply. So I get to work. For the next 3 hours, I sit in my office with coffee and the last of the bourbon and start laying out their whole little side operation. I pull together the screenshots, the names, the places, the dates, the stock movements. By 2 o'clock in the morning, I have enough to blow up Richard, to blow up Megan, to blow up half their leadership team. But I have something better than proof. I have a way to hurt them. Here is what I figured out while the house was quiet. Revenge is not some cold, patient thing like people always say. It is better loud. It is better hot. It is better when everybody is watching. I am still awake when Megan comes home at 4 in the morning. She smells like an expensive cologne I do not own. She thinks I am asleep. I keep my eyes almost closed and watch her move around the room. She showers. She wipes off the lipstick. She eases into bed beside me like nothing is wrong. Good presentation? I mumble, like I am just waking up. Very productive, she whispers. Go back to sleep. But I am not going back to sleep. I feel more awake than I have in years. In the morning, she is gone before I even sit up. She leaves a note on the counter about some weekend team-building thing. Sure, team building. I grab my phone and call the one guy I trust with the ugly stuff. Tommy, I need your help, I say when he picks up. What kind of help, he asks. His voice still has that cop edge from back in the day. The kind where I either get my life back or I end up in prison. He is quiet for a second, then laughs that rough old man laugh of his. I will put on a pot of coffee. Sounds like this is going to take a while. I grab my keys and head for the door. Before I step out, I turn and look at the house. Our perfect little suburban castle. Fresh mulch, clean windows, 2 luxury cars in the driveway. All of it bought with the lie that we were a team. By the time I am finished, this will not matter. Either I will be free or I will be broke. Either way, I am done being the punchline. Tommy's bar, the Knockout, sits in that part of downtown the real estate people pretend does not exist. Brick buildings, old neon, cars with mismatched doors. Inside, the coffee is strong, the whiskey is stronger, and nobody asks why a former police officer runs a private investigation business under a bar with a boxing gym in the basement. I find Tommy behind the counter, reading an actual newspaper and drinking something black enough to shine shoes. You look terrible, he says without even looking up. I feel worse. I sit on a stool and slide my phone across to him. Scroll through those. He puts on his glasses and starts reading the screenshots. The messages from Megan. The ones from Richard. The group thread with Nicole. The pictures. The part where they talked about me like I was a piece on their game board. His face stays mostly the same, but I see his jaw clench. After about 15 minutes, he sets the phone down. How long do you think this has been going on, he asks. From the messages, at least 6 months. Maybe longer. And what is it you want to do? You want to divorce her? Take it to the Securities and Exchange Commission? Go to the local police? I shake my head. I want to ruin them. All of them. I want her, Richard, Nicole, those vice presidents, every single one of them to lose the things they love. The way they have been playing with my life. Tommy reaches under the bar, pulls out a bottle, and pours us both whiskey. It is not even noon. You sure, Jake, he says. Because once you walk down this road, you do not walk back. You stop being the nice guy. I already stopped. I say. I just have not said it out loud. He nods slow. All right. Then we do it the smart way. You want payback, you play chess, not checkers. First rule of chess. Do not let your opponent know there is a game until you already won. For the next 2 hours, we build what he calls the payback board. Every person in Megan's little circle goes on it. Who they sleep with. Who they owe. What they are hiding. Where they get their money. Who they are married to. Who can be embarrassed. Tommy still has contacts everywhere. retired cops, a couple of active detectives who owe him favors, a reporter, a kid who is basically a hacker, and some people he calls information brokers, which is a polite way of saying people who know things they should not know. The secret, Tommy says, tapping the bar with his finger, is to make them wreck each other. You do not want to be the man holding the gun. You want to be the man who made them pick up the gun. By the time I walk out of the knockout, I have a plan that would make Niccolo Machiavelli clap. Step 1. Gather more information than they think exists. Step 2. Find people inside the company who hate them more than I do. Step 3. Light the fuse. Step 4. Watch them all blame each other. The next few days I move like a shadow in my own house. Megan barely notices. She is too busy with presentations and strategy sessions. I use the time to do everything Tommy laid out. I hire a security company to install cameras around the house. I tell Megan it is because of break-ins in the neighborhood. That part is true. There were a couple last month, so she does not ask questions. What I do not tell her is that the cameras cover the driveway, the front walk, the street in front of the house, and the angle where Richard's Bentley pulls up. I start following them, but not like some jealous husband tailgating their car. I do it Tommy's way. Different routes, different cars, different times. We build a map. Where Richard takes her. How often? What nights? Where the other women meet him. Where Nicole fits into it. The Bentley always hits the same spots. Richard's penthouse downtown. A private club where the parking lot is full of cars that cost more than houses. And a modern house up in the hills. That house in the hills belongs to Nicole Harper, the woman who wanted to handle me. Nicole is not just some random middle manager. She is Richard's real number 2. Sharp-eyed, mid-40s, knows where every body is buried because she helped dig the holes. She has been with the company since it was a startup. She is also married to a city councilman who is running for mayor. Tommy just grins when I tell him that part. That, he says, is what we call leverage. But it is what we dig up on Richard that flips the whole thing. Your wife's boss has a problem, Tommy tells me over coffee at the knockout. His wife filed for divorce 3 months ago. She hired her own private investigator. She has been building a case on him for years. What kind of case? I ask. The expensive kind, he says. Hidden money. Offshore accounts. A long history of inappropriate behavior at work. This goes back 10 years. She is not just leaving him. She wants to carve him up and hang every piece in court. I lean back. Does she know about what is going on right now? The stuff with Megan and the others? Not yet, Tommy says. But I think she would be very interested. Linda Collins lives in a mansion that makes my place look like a model home. Big stone front. Circular driveway. Staff. The whole thing. She is in her mid-50s, silver hair. Looks like money and patience, and a woman who has sat through 3 decades of her husband's lies. When we show up with a folder full of screenshots and timelines, she does not even act surprised. I have been waiting for someone like you too, she says, letting us into a living room that is bigger than my whole first floor. I knew Richard was doing something new. I did not know he was doing it with other men's wives. She pours tea like this is polite company, but her eyes are cold. What do you want from me? She asks. Partnership, I say. You want to destroy him in court and in his bank accounts. I want to destroy him in public and at work. We can help each other. She smiles then, and I finally understand how Richard climbed so high. He was married to a shark. What did you have in mind? She asks. So I tell her about the charity gala. Every year, Richard's company hosts a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital. 500 guests. Local news cameras. Silent auction. People in gowns. Richard always does a speech about values and community and responsibility. This year's gala is in 2 weeks, I say. What if his speech gets interrupted by some very interesting audio and video? Linda's smile gets wider. I like you, Jake, she says. I think we are going to work very well together. But I still have to handle Megan. She needs to understand that the rules are different now. Even if she has no idea, I am the one changing them. The chance shows up 3 days later. Megan is getting ready for yet another presentation. This time it is at some trendy bistro downtown where the executives like to drink at noon and call it team strategy. She has on a new outfit, the kind Richard buys her. And just like always, she leaves her underwear on the bedroom floor. After she leaves, I pick up the black lace underwear and put them in my jacket pocket. Then I make calls. Tommy has a friend named Maria. Former model. Did some acting. Now does whatever pays the rent. She is beautiful, sharp, and, as Tommy says, very good at social engineering. I also call a luxury car rental place. If I am going to walk into Megan's little power lunch, I might as well make an entrance. The bistro is exactly what I pictured. Prices that make no sense. Waiters who act like they are doing you a favor by letting you eat there. A room full of people who think having stock options makes them royalty. I walk in wearing my best suit, Maria on my arm, and the keys to a rented Bentley in my pocket. Megan is at a corner table with Richard, with Nicole, and with two other women I recognize from the photos on her phone. They are laughing, probably about some assistant, probably about someone's husband. They stop when they see me. I walk straight to the table. Maria glides beside me like she owns the place. The room goes quiet. This is the kind of restaurant where everybody knows everybody's business. Megan, I say loud enough for half the room to hear. You forgot something at home. I pull the black lace underwear from my pocket and set them on the table, right next to her salad. The silence is heavy. Jake, Megan hisses, her face going from white to red. What are you doing here? Having lunch with my friend Maria? I say, like this is the most normal thing in the world. Maria, this is my wife, Megan. Megan, this is Maria. She is helping me with a new project. Maria smiles and reaches out her hand. It is so nice to meet you, Megan. Jake has told me so much about you. Richard starts to stand up, all offended boss energy. I put my hand on his shoulder and push him back down. Not hard, just enough to let him know I am not scared of him. Richard, right? I say, I have heard so much about your presentations. Megan says they are very hands-on. You should leave, Nicole says, trying to sound like she is in charge. Oh, I am leaving, I say. I just wanted to make sure Megan had everything she needed for tonight's meeting. You know how she forgets things when she is excited about work. I lean down to Megan's ear, just loud enough for the table to hear me. By the way, sweetheart, I moved our investments this morning. I believe in diversification. It is not smart to keep everything in one basket. That is when I see it. Fear. She knows exactly what that means. She knows I saw the messages. She knows the trap she thought I was in is gone. I straighten up and smile at all of them. Well, you all enjoy your business lunch, I say. Come on, Maria. I promised you a ride in the Bentley. As we walk out, I can hear the whispers blow up behind us. Phones are already out. This town loves drama. By tonight, half the city will know that Richard Collins' favorite employee had her underwear dropped on the table by her husband in the middle of the most popular bistro in town. That was either brilliant or insane, Maria says as we get into the Bentley. Maybe both, I tell her. But that was just the first move. That night, Megan does not come home. No text. No call. Not even one of those fake work messages about the team running late. For the first time in months, I sleep like a man who finally has his hands on the wheel. In the morning, there is an envelope shoved under the front door with my name on it in big block letters. Inside is one photograph. It is me and Tommy sitting in the knockout. On the back, in neat handwriting. Stop now, or we will stop you. I call Tommy right away. Somebody is watching us, I say. Good, he says. That means we are in their head. People do not make threats unless they are nervous. What is next? We go bigger, I say. Then it is time to bring in the heavy tools, he says. That is when Tommy tells me about the others. The other husbands. The other wives. The people who got chewed up by Richard and Nicole and their little circle over the years. People who have been sitting in the dark waiting for somebody to swing first. You are not the only one, Jake, he says. You are just the loudest one. By the end of the week, I have a team. We meet in an old warehouse on the edge of town. It used to be a printing place before everything went digital. Now it is just concrete, dust, and a long echo, which makes it perfect for talking without anyone listening. There are 6 of us around a folding table under one hanging light. Me, Tommy, and 4 guys whose lives got wrecked by Richard Collins' private system. There is Mark Davis. His wife, Erin, got fired from the company after she refused to participate in one of Richard's special projects. She had a breakdown and spent 3 months in a mental health clinic. Mark has been driving a cab to pay the bills. Next to him is Robert Lee, a former company accountant. He found the insider trading pattern and tried to report it. Richard had him blackballed from every serious accounting firm in the state. Robert has been working at a grocery store for 2 years trying to feed his family. The third man is Frank Miller. His daughter, Kelsey, was an intern last summer. 19 years old. Smart. Wanted to make it. Richard took a special interest in her. When Frank found out what kind of interest it was, he went to the police. The case was dropped because of insufficient evidence. Kelsey quit school and barely talks now. The fourth man is Daniel Harper. He is the city councilman who is running for mayor. He is also married to Nicole Harper, the woman who has been running Richard's darker business out of sight. I knew Nicole was cheating, Daniel says, voice flat. I did not know it was part of a whole structure. Tommy spreads photos, printouts, and timelines across the table. This is not just adultery, he says. This is a criminal outfit. Inappropriate workplace conduct. Insider trading. Blackmail. Threats. Witness tampering. These people do not just sleep around. They break people. So what do? Mark asks. We all tried the court thing. We all tried being good citizens. It did not work. They own the referees. Then we stop playing their game. I say, we run our own. I lay out the plan Tommy and I have been building. Phase 1, information warfare. We drip the right pieces of evidence to financial reporters, to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and to Richard's business rivals. Nothing that points at us, but enough that people start asking, why is this company's leadership always in the wrong place with the wrong people? Phase 2, social destruction. Public hits. Embarrassments. Videos. Leaks. The charity gala will just be the opening show. Phase 3, financial damage. We use what we know about their timing and their fake stock moves to trigger investigations and short-term drops. Make their own greed snap back on them. Phase 4, personal reckoning. Every single one of them answers for what they did to our families. This is not all legal, Robert says quietly. Neither was what they did to a 19-year-old, Frank says. Neither was what they did to your career. Daniel nods. I am in, he says. But I want Nicole's political reach burned. She has been using my campaign to hide meetings. When I am mayor, she was planning to be the real boss. That is already baked in, Tommy says. Her name is going to come out alongside Richard's. We spend the next 3 hours breaking it down. Who does what? Who calls who? Who leaks which piece? Mark will handle surveillance and photo proof. A taxi driver can be anywhere without looking suspicious. Robert will run point on the money and find weak spots in their accounts and shell companies. Maybe it was smart and crazy, I tell Maria. Either way, that was just the opener. That night, Megan does not come home. No story about a late client. No, I am crashing at Nicole's. Nothing. I sleep like a guy who finally shoved the first domino. Next morning, I find an envelope under the front door. My name is on it in big block letters, Jake. Inside is one photo. Me and Tommy at the knockout, heads together, talking. On the back, in neat handwriting. Stop now, or we will stop you. I call Tommy. Somebody is tailing us, I say. Good, he says. That means they feel it. People only threaten when they are spooked. So we push. How hard? We go to the big tools. Then he tells me about the rest of the people he has been quietly circling up. Other husbands. A few wives. Folks who got chewed up by Richard and Nicole's little reward system over the years and had to eat it. I was just the first idiot loud enough to swing. By the end of the week, we have a real crew. We meet again in the dead warehouse. Same metal table, same hanging light. Me, Tommy, Mark Davis the cab driver with the wife, who snapped. Robert Lee the accountant working at a grocery store. Frank Miller whose daughter they mentored. And Councilman Daniel Harper, Nicole's own husband. Tommy starts handing out jobs. Frank, you work the law side. Not every cop is bought. Some of them remember you before Richard trashed your name. Get them curious. Daniel, he says, you feed us everything on city contracts, permits, who is donating to who. If they are using City Hall as cover, I want it. I will handle gear, cameras, dead drops, fake accounts, all of it, Tommy says. And Jake, he nods at me. You are the loud one. You make noise. You keep their eyes on you so the rest of us can move. Remember, he says before we break, we are not out here to be gangsters. We are citizens getting justice in a way that actually works. If a judge ever looks at this, we need to be able to say why we did what we did. Phase 1 starts that night. Robert still has old logins from when he worked there. Richard never bothered to shut them off. So Robert goes in, pulls trading records, bonus schedules, side accounts. We send it, through the anonymous channels Tommy's hacker buddy built, to 3 finance reporters and 2 people at the Securities and Exchange Commission. Mark starts tailing Richard, Nicole, and Megan in his taxi, taking pictures, logging where they go. Within a week, we have a full map of their habits, including meetings with city people Daniel did not know about. Frank talks to a couple of detectives he used to work with. He gives them just enough to make them sniff around, but not enough to point back to us. Daniel starts getting loud in council meetings about the company's tax breaks and city contracts. The pressure shows up fast. Richard hires private security to assess threats. Nicole starts changing her routes and checking her mirrors. Megan gets jumpy, looking over her shoulder all the time. But they make one mistake. They think the danger is outside their circle. They do not realize one of their own is talking to us. That is when it turns from tense to ugly. I am leaving the knockout one night after a planning session when two guys in sharp suits walk up in the parking lot. Not cops. Cops do not wear shoes that cost that much. Mr. Walker, the tall one says, we need to chat. I do not think we do. I say, but I am already measuring. Car, bar door, street. Oh, we do, the short one says. You have been sticking your nose where it does not belong. Maybe it is time to focus on your marriage instead of other people's business. That is when Tommy steps out behind them with a baseball bat, like this is Tuesday. Fellas, he says nice and calm. This is private property. Turn around and go. This does not involve you, old man, the tall one says. Tommy grins. It involves me if it involves him. The short one reaches inside his jacket. Tommy is faster. The bat cracks down on his wrist. It makes that ugly tree branch sound. The guy screams and drops. Now, Tommy says to the tall one, you can haul your buddy to the emergency room, or I can show you level 2. They leave, but not before the tall one gives me that look. The one that says, this is not finished. They are getting nervous, Tommy says as we watch them drive off. Nervous people screw up. 2 days later, Richard screws up. I am at home working when 3 police cars roll up, like I robbed a bank. A detective I have never seen steps out looking like a man who takes cash in restaurant bathrooms. Jacob Walker, he says, you are under arrest for stalking, harassment, and making terroristic threats. What threats? I ask as they cuff me. Against Richard Collins and his associates. We have statements. We have photos. It is a frame. Richard leaned on somebody and bought himself an arrest to spook me. But he made 2 bad moves. First, he forgot Tommy still has friends wearing badges. Within an hour, Frank and Tommy have the detective's file. Gambling problem. Side money from rich defendants. Soft spot for envelopes. Second, by having me grabbed. He gave us the perfect excuse to go to phase 2. While I am sitting and holding, Tommy hits the button. We dump everything. Every spreadsheet, every picture, every recording, every text thread, every list of meetings, every connection to city officials, the whole map, goes out at once. To the media, to the Securities and Exchange Commission, to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to the State Attorney General, and, most important, to the internet. With one line. This is what happens when you try to shut people up. 6 hours later, I am out on bail. And Richard Collins' world is on fire. The company's stock has fallen off a cliff, down 60% in one day. The Securities and Exchange Commission announces a formal investigation. 3 members of the board demand Richard's immediate resignation. Every local news station leads with the story. But that is not even the worst part for him. The real bomb is his wife. Linda Collins holds a press conference on the courthouse steps where she filed for divorce. She is calm, polished, expensive, and cold. I have been quiet for too long, she tells the cameras. But when I learned that my husband was using his position to take advantage of other women, including the wives of his own employees, I knew I had to come forward. That clip runs on a loop for the rest of the day. Nicole's political future dies before lunch. Recordings of her and Richard talking about using Councilman Daniel Harper's campaign to gain more power at City Hall hit the internet. Daniel does his own press conference. He announces he is dropping out of the mayor's race and filing for divorce. He looks hurt, but not dirty, so the public treats him like another person Richard and Nicole used. And Megan? Megan is gone. I come home from the station and the house is half empty. Her clothes, her jewelry, a few pieces of furniture, gone. On the counter is a note. You ruined everything. I hope this was worth it. It was. For the first time in a long time, I feel honest. But it is not over. Richard and Nicole still have money, still have lawyers, still have people they can lean on. The charges against me are still on the books. They are trying to make our evidence look fake and scare off our witnesses. That is when Tommy says, you want this to end for real? Then they have to blow themselves up. We can make that happen. The charity gala is in 3 days. 500 of the most important people in the city will be in one room, expecting to clap for Richard while he talks about community values. Instead, they are going to watch him fall. The Grand View Hotel ballroom looks exactly like every rich person fundraiser. Big chandeliers, white tablecloths, waiters in vests, couples in outfits that cost more than cars. I am at a table in the back wearing a rented tuxedo, watching Richard glide from group to group like nothing is wrong. Tommy is in the building somewhere. Mark and Robert are, too. Frank is in a news van outside with 3 reporters ready to hit the button. Daniel sits at the head table looking like a man trying to be brave. Linda sits near him, wearing enough diamonds to blind people, smiling like a wolf. Nicole is not there. That is on purpose. Dinner goes by. The auction goes by. Richard acts humble and charming. If you did not know who he really was, you would think he was a model citizen instead of a man who used sex and secrets to boost the price of his own stock. Then he steps up to give his main speech. "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, basking in it, "thank you for being here tonight to support the Children's Hospital Foundation. Your generosity makes a real difference." That is when the lights go out. 3 seconds. Just enough. In those 3 seconds, Tommy takes over the hotel's audio and video. The lights come back up. The big screen behind Richard does not show his slide deck. It shows pictures of him with women who are not his wife. It plays audio of him talking about moving stock prices. It rolls video of him walking into Nicole's house at night. Then comes the best part. The recording of Richard and Nicole talking about problem employees. About framing me. About taking down anyone who talks. The room explodes. People gasp. People stand up. Somebody shouts. Richard whirls around and sees himself 20 feet tall doing crimes. He tries to talk, but his microphone is dead. He tries to leave the stage, but Frank's reporters are already at the stairs. "Mr. Collins, can you comment on the Securities and Exchange Commission investigation? Mr. Collins, did you authorize the retaliation against whistleblowers? Mr. Collins, were you having sexual relationships with subordinates?" Richard does not look at them. He looks at me. For the first time since this whole thing started, I see real fear in Richard's eyes. Then Linda stands up at the head table. "Ladies and gentlemen," she says, clear and steady over the noise, "I am sorry for the interruption, but all of you deserve to know who you have been celebrating tonight." She walks to the microphone like she owns the room. And somehow, even with pictures of her husband's affairs on the screen, everybody gets quiet. "My husband, Richard Collins, is a criminal," she says. "He has used his job to take advantage of women, to manipulate financial markets, and to destroy anyone who got in the way. What you are seeing right now is only a small part of what I have collected over the years." She looks straight at him. He is frozen on stage, hands half raised, like a man who just realized the train is not stopping. "I stayed silent for 30 years because I was afraid. I was afraid of what he would do to me. I was afraid of losing what we built. I was afraid of being alone. I am not afraid anymore. And none of you should be either." The ballroom is dead quiet. Richard Collins is not a leader. He is a predator who hid behind charity dinners and corporate speeches while he ruined lives. And it ends tonight. Right on cue, the agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation walk in. No yelling. No guns. Just business. They go straight to the stage and put him under arrest for securities fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. All the things we could not make stick one by one are now tied together in one federal case he cannot bribe his way out of. They turn him to walk him out. He looks at me, and what I see in his face is not anger. It is respect. Like he finally understands I was not the soft idiot he thought I was. The fallout is fast. Nicole gets picked up at her house 2 hours later. There is too much on her. The recordings, the planning, the political stuff. She does not have the kind of money Richard has, so she cannot fight it. Megan shows up 3 days after that, through a lawyer, trying to make a deal. She wants immunity in exchange for testifying against Richard and Nicole. She finally figured out they never planned to protect her. She was just another piece on the board. The company is finished within a week. The board fires everybody tied to Richard's circle, but it is already over. The Securities and Exchange Commission freezes their accounts. The stock tanks to nothing. Bankruptcy is the only move left. Here's the good part. When I told Megan at that fancy bistro that I moved our money, I was not bluffing. 3 months earlier, when I first found her messages, I sold everything in our joint portfolio. Every share of their company. I moved it quietly into 3 of their biggest competitors. So while Richard's company was dropping straight into the ground, I was making money. Final score? Richard Collins gets 15 years in federal prison. Nicole Harper gets 8 years and loses her law license. Megan gets probation for cooperating, but nobody in the tech world will ever hire her again. Daniel Harper wins the mayor's race in a landslide by talking about honesty and cleaning up government. Mark gets his wife real treatment and opens a security and surveillance business. Robert joins the Federal Bureau of Investigation as a forensic accountant. Frank's daughter, Kelsey, goes back to school somewhere new and starts to heal. And me? I end up with a big stake in 3 technology companies, including the one that bought what was left of Richard's company out of bankruptcy. But that is not the part that matters. 6 months after the gala, I am sitting at Tommy's bar, reading a newspaper story about Richard's sentencing. In the pictures, he looks old. Small. Not the slick guy getting out of a Bentley. Any regrets? Tommy asks, pouring me a whiskey. I actually think about it. Do I regret blowing up my marriage? Do I regret knocking over half the city's power circle? Do I regret becoming the kind of man who plans a 4-phase revenge operation? No, I say. They made their choices. I made sure there were consequences. Tommy nods. You know, when you walked in here the first day, I thought you were just another husband who wanted proof his wife was cheating. I did not think you were going to burn their whole system down. I did not burn it, I tell him. I just lit the match. They poured the gasoline. That is the truth that lets me sleep. Everything that happened to Richard, to Nicole, to Megan, came from what they did. I did not frame anybody. I did not plant fake money. I did not take down innocent people. I just dragged their garbage into the light and locked the door behind them. The house feels different now. Quieter. Lighter. I got rid of Megan's furniture. I painted. I turned her office into a library. I still work from home, but now I manage an 8-figure portfolio instead of that little investing hobby. I even hired Linda Collins to advise me. Turns out she is sharp as a razor when she is not stuck in her husband's shadow. Sometimes I ask myself what would have happened if I had just filed for divorce, split things, and walked away. Maybe I would have been nicer. But then I remember Mark's wife staring at white walls in a hospital. I remember Robert bagging groceries after telling the truth. I remember Frank's girl quitting college because some rich executive thought she was his property. Somebody had to stop them. It just happened to be me. I raise my glass to the empty bar and toast the old version of myself. The man who believed love was enough. The man who thought playing by the rules would protect him. The man who did not know he could be dangerous. That man is gone. In his place is somebody harder. Somebody smarter. Somebody who understands that sometimes the only way to get justice is to be the villain in their story. And I will be honest with you. I wear it better than they ever wore their masks.